What's going on? It's the RapNerd, and with Ballerina releasing over the weekend, there's no better time than now than to rank the John Wick franchise. Now, I'm going to start by saying I love this franchise. There isn't anything in here that I despise or dislike. I love it all. So if my list does not match with yours, this by no means is a form of disrespect. Always got to start there because this is the internet. And to kick things off at the number 6 spot for me is the Continental series on Peacock. In case you don't know what that is, that's a prequel to the John Wick series that talks about the Continental and how it came to be. Now, I don't think that this in particular is great, but it's definitely not terrible either. It's pretty solid ground right in the middle. And to be in the John Wick franchise, being solid is not really, what the franchise lives up to be. All of these movies are pretty damn good. And honestly, if this series was not attached to the John Wick franchise, it would probably get a lot more praise and notoriety. But because it is a part of the John Wick world, it's a bit like, it's cool, But there are some things that I do appreciate. I like seeing Winston's background and how he came to power and what he dealt with before even getting in this position. And I like the many different corners of New York that all show their ugly heads in battle, throughout the series. I think that part was dope. But I will say that the choreography is just not up to par from what we would expect from the series, and that really is the biggest reason that it's at the bottom of the list. But I like that it exists because it just really plays for a Winston origin story. And I do think that if you are a fan of the franchise, it's worth just checking out at least. So at the number 6 spot for me is the Continental. At the number 5 spot is John Wick Chapter 2. I think that this movie for me personally is the least memorable because I think this is the stereotype of Hollywood with sequels to just go bigger with a bigger budget, because it kind of does the same type of things the first John Wick does, but you can clearly tell that the budget is bigger with a lot of the locations and things that they're able to do. I do like that it takes place overseas, so it gives it a different vibe. I do like Cassie is played by Common. I think that he's a really, really dope character, and I would have liked to see him pop up somewhere on the line and maybe even get a spin-off with him, because I just thought that he was dope and felt like in the equal to John Wick when they had that fight. So he's the memorable part of that. But honestly, whenever I think about Chapter 2, I think about okay, one ends with him killing the Russian brothers and the father, and I never remember how the beginning starts and how he gets into even going overseas. So I gotta say that to me this was the least memorable, and that's why I have it at the number 5 spot, but I still do like it. Coming in at number 4 is John Wick Chapter 3. Now, when this movie released, I thought that this was as good as it gets when it comes to this series. I was blown away by the action set pieces because it has so many great fights back to back to back, and this was the franchise at its fullest, taking the budget and doing the right things with it. There's so many memorable moments. I love the fight sequence in the room with the mirrors. I thought that was fire. I love Wick fighting on horses. I love the setup of the Ballerina and getting to see some of John Wick's background and who and where he kind of came from. Absolutely love the sequence in the Middle East with Halle Berry's character and her having the dogs. That whole sequence was super duper fire. And even his return back to the Continental to face off against that duo that we know so well from the Raid. I thought that the action was fantastic, and especially seeing the table on attack mode for real, because of course we did see glimpses of them in Chapter 2, but it wasn't full on like this. I mean, having the whole city of New York go after the guy was just a chef's kiss. So really, I have no complaints about this movie, and honestly, the only reason it's at this spot is because from here on, I think that they just kind of outdo it in certain places. So at the number 4 spot is John Wick Chapter 3. So at the number 3 spot for me is Ballerina. Yes, the joint that just dropped. I did not expect this movie to be anywhere near as good. When I first saw the trailers, I was underwhelmed as hell, but God, when I saw this, blew me away and kind of refreshed the franchise in a sense to see okay, this thing can live without John Wick being here, because I want to see Ballerina 2, 3, and see what Eve gets herself into. I think that taking the action the way it did, you know, being a lot more fantastical than the original John Wicks, with the flamethrower fights, the grenade bomb fight, the sword fighting, the machine guns. Like, it takes everything that was in the John Wick franchise, even from the Continental, I would say, it just blows that shit up completely, offering something that is a lot different than what we've seen. And I think Ana de Armas being Eve is like the perfect choice. Ever since I saw her in No Time to Die fighting alongside James Bond, I was like, she needs her own movie like this where she's kicking ass, and boy oh boy, this did not disappoint. So many memorable moments. This is one that I want to watch immediately. The fact that it's above a few John Wick movies in the franchise says it all. So if you want to see my in-depth thoughts, I have a review/reaction up that you can check out. So at the number 3 spot is Ballerina. Coming in at number 2 is the first John Wick. I think that this is classic and a hell of an introduction and kickoff to this franchise. Honestly, the best thing about this movie isn't even the action, even though that part is cool, but it's more of the myth built up surrounding John Wick. You see this underworld of assassins and dirty people willing to do anything and have no type of feelings towards anyone, terrified of the man that they call John Wick, or the Baba Yaga. And everything is built off of the back of this first movie. And honestly, it was a game changer when it released in 2014, because prior to that time, we were getting a lot of edited fight sequences, some shaky camera and all that stuff. But this film literally took over the genre, and everybody was trying to be like John Wick. Even the way things are edited, stuff being kept in camera longer than it used to be, less cuts, seeing all the action. So it was a game changer when it released. And even watching it now, I just find it hilarious how infamous John Wick's name is. I still love the scene when those Russian kids go to the mechanic and he's like, "Where'd you get that car from?" Some old guy with a dog. And he's just like, shit. The dad calls him and he's like, "I heard you put your hands on my son." "Oh yeah, it's because he stole the car and killed the puppy of John Wick." And the dad just turns, the music pauses, and he's like, "Oh." I don't think I've ever seen a boogeyman type character where people know of this person depicted in this way, and it revolutionized the action genre as we know it. So at the number 2 spot for me is John Wick. At the number 1 spot for me, which is crazy that it is the 4th entry in the franchise, John Wick Chapter 4. I think that this movie is one of the greatest action films ever made. This is like a big budget blockbuster martial arts film. I don't think I've seen anything to this scale in Hollywood, at least, you know. This is literally 2 hours and 45 minutes of action one-upping itself every sequence. There are like 3 big set pieces, and within those set pieces, there are small set pieces moving its way into different locations of what's going on. Absolutely insane. I just rewatched this the other day preparing for Ballerina, and it just brought me back to my theatrical watch that you just had to see it in theaters to really understand how great of a film this was. I think watching it streaming, you could definitely understand the choreography, but just seeing it on an IMAX screen and the way it starts with John Wick pounding, you know, while he's punching, and you hear Lawrence Fishburne behind him doing this fantastic monologue. Oh, it's so great. And it just works its way through seamlessly, while giving us a different look of the high table, because you have Bill Skarsgård's character who steps down in a sense to deal with Wick in the Continental, and this just pushes Wick to a whole different level of killing. And I can't stress enough just how fantastic these action sequences are. The Osaka Hotel is one that I don't see spoken about a lot, but man, that has to be my favorite sequence of the film. I just love the way that it unravels, and it literally just feels like an anime come to life visually every time I watch that sequence. And then of course you have him going, you know, to the club to fight Killer, who is a whole different type of animal, giving Scott Adkins his props. And of course the fight in Paris with not only the circle fight, I forgot what the name of that structure is, but you have that goes into the building with the dragon's breath, and an over the top shot where it looks like a video game. Ooh. And then they end everything off with the Western style shootout. It's just, Chad put every type of subgenre action in this movie, and I just appreciate it so much. I don't know if that film will ever be outdone because of how great and seamless everything worked out to be. So at the #1 spot is John Wick Chapter 4. So that's my list. Let me know in the comments what yours is. And there's no wrong answer, honestly, because all of these movies are great. Even The Continental, I feel like, is a good show to watch, and I'm down to see this universe continue on and on as long as they keep that creativity pumping, the choreography good, and some characters that stick around. Hey, I'm in. They just bought themselves another 5 to 10 years with Eve and Ballerina because I thought it was great. So if you like this kind of content, make sure to like and subscribe, and if you already are subscribed, thank you, and until next time, peace. RapNerd Productions, no capping, that's word to mommy. Instead of banking on it, now rapping is just a hobby.